So George, with the web today, there's a lot more emphasis on accessibility for different types of learners. How does VoiceThread address accessibility needs? For example, captioning, screen readers, inclusive design for diverse learners. How's it handle it?
Great question. So accessibility is a really big topic, right? And
Right.
it's usually tied into universal design. That's, the kind of education speak about accessibility. Most of the time, when you hear people talk about accessibility, they're talking about blind students and deaf students. And we always want to make sure we have accommodations for those students, but those aren't the only two groups. And I think sometimes those are the more obvious groups, right? But there are other groups that might be a little more hidden, and their needs for universal design aren't on the forefront, and people don't see them. And some of those categories might be older students, students who are dyslexic, and that's actually the biggest group of students that
Oh,
have some needs are dyslexic students. I think
okay.
it's between 15 and 20% of students have some form of dyslexia,
Okay.
which means that in every class that you take, there's going to be a handful of students, whereas it's rare to have a blind or deaf student. You'll have them, but it's
Sure.
it's much more rare than
Hmm.
you will dyslexic students. And the dyslexic students are almost never addressed. And I can remember having a discussion, this is years back, kind of when universal design was just starting to catch on, and there was an instructor who was saying, you know what, I don't think I can use VoiceThread because I need to make sure the class is accessible. So I'm going to do everything in text. And I said, well, that's probably the least accessible way to have a class is to have it be all text.
Right.
And there's a number of reasons for that. So VoiceThread addresses every type of learner. We have captions for students that need captions. If you're a deaf student, you can watch the video of someone speaking, but you can see the captions underneath. We have sign language. So we have webcam comments that you can use sign language. For students that are blind and need screen readers or have other types of vision issues that they need a screen reader for, VoiceThread used to have a separate interface just for screen readers. But since we redesigned everything about a year and a half ago at this point, the default VoiceThread blended in with that look. So now VoiceThread just by default is optimized for screen readers. You can do things like in a text comment, you can change the size of the text. And I know I always tell this story in the workshops, but my mother on her phone, she has her apps, the icons are extra large, right? Because my family, we don't have great eyesight. I have contacts in right now, but we all wear glasses. So, for some people, you need that bigger text, you need that bigger font size, and you can do that stuff on VoiceThread.
Got it.
And just like we talk about other learners like commuters, right? That's another group that you don't always think about. But you're in graduate school, you might be on a train or on a bus coming back from work, and you can't necessarily record audio comments or webcam comments. So you may need that text, right? And then you have students that might not be English language, they might not speak English as their primary language. So those students could use a little extra time, and that's where the asynchronous nature of VoiceThread comes in, right? Students with processing issues, asynchronous helps with them as well. Whereas, being on Zoom for them might be difficult if you have auditory processing issues. But if you have VoiceThread, you can replay and replay. You can slow it down. You can speed it up. Maybe you have ADHD and you get impatient listening to an instructor go at a slower cadence. You can speed them up to 1.5, 2, 3 times as fast and listen to them at a speed that your ear is ready for. So VoiceThread tries to address everything that we could possibly think of when it comes to universal design and accessibility. And we're always working to improve on that stuff.